Good morning, America. Our fight with Japan is over, but the world is facing a new serious threat. A threat to democracy and the very ideals that our great nation is built on, communism.
As a world power, it is our duty to protect the world's right to free trade, free elections, and individual freedom. It's us against them.
Our nation is fighting the good fight. President Truman has taken the necessary steps to ensure that communism doesn't spread outside the USSR. It's all a part of the Truman Doctrine, which is
a statement and a promise by President Truman that we will provide military, economic, and political aid to any countries whose democratic systems are under attack from authoritarian forces. Gone are the days where we would have to hang back and stay out of conflicts that don't involve us. This marks a new era of intervention when necessary in foreign disputes. For example,
as you all know, 2 years ago, with the ending of World War II in Europe, it led to Germany being cut up by the Allied forces, which included the USSR at the time. But with friction increasing between us and them, the communist leader Joseph Stalin decided to cut off communication between Western Berlin and West Germany with the Berlin Barricade. On June 24, 1948, land and river transportations alike were blocked and cut off. How did we respond?
We sent over aircraft carriers full of supplies to aid Western Berlin. This was a demonstration of the U.S.'s strength and ability to maintain power and control situations. It also protected and aided Berlin from falling to the influence of communism. This also ties in with the Marshall Plan of 1948. Europe was in devastation and ruin at the end of World War II. In response, George Marshall suggested that the European powers come up with a financial plan, and the U.S. provided economic assistance. $13.3 billion were sent over 4 years in aid in the restoration and recovery of Europe. This not only got U.S. goods into Europe, establishing consistent trade partners, and helped foster democratic systems.
But it also had the added benefit of putting Joseph Stalin and the USSR in a tight position. The theory behind the Marshall Plan was that by stabilizing Europe's economy, political stability would follow and stop the spread of communism in its tracks. Some of the communist allies in Europe had been roped into benefiting from the Marshall Plan, and so Stalin had to maintain his power. He created his own plan. But if Stalin tried to cut off the Marshall Plan from any European countries to try and block democracy, he would be seen as someone against the rebuilding and restoration of Europe, thus halting his spread of communism in Europe.
In addition to all of this, the U.S. joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO for short. We made sure to make it abundantly clear to the USSR that if any of the fellow NATO countries were attacked, then they would have to deal with us. This once more helped back to USSR into a corner, as they knew it would cause great casualties and mass devastation to many countries if a war broke out between them and NATO. But alas, great citizens.
These efforts could only do so much. Eventually, the tide started to turn and things are looking darker. Despite our best efforts to contain it, communism is leaching out. China has officially become a communist country and turned red. The announcement of the PRC, the People's Republic of China, ended a civil war between the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and the KMT, or the Nationalist Party. We have been sending military and financial aid in hopes of presenting this outcome. However, it is ultimately up to China what happens. Unfortunately, all chances and hope for any sort of accommodations between us and them have been lost. There is now very minimal contact between us and China.
This symbolizes our failing attempts to keep communism contained and further aggravated and shown by the boom of communism in North Korea. It is our desire and duty to keep communism out of South Korea. As such, we are sending troops and money to aid in their conflict.
We are strong. We have proven time and time again that our military is a force to be reckoned with. However, so are they now. The USSR has gained access to atomic bombs, which, as you know, is what helped us win World War II in Japan. This has devastating connotations, as it means that our enemy has nuclear weapons that they can use. They don't even have to use them necessarily for this to affect the future of the world. The fear that these weapons hold alone gives them more power and influence to accomplish their agenda. We only fear what they will do. And as if that isn't bad enough,
the USSR has essentially made their own version of NATO. Same principles apply. You fight one, then you have to fight them all. This effectively strained the USSR and unified the military of different communist countries. This shows and symbolizes the spread of influence and communism across Eastern Europe.
It was called the Warsaw Pact. We have been fighting the good fight, and this situation is so far from being over. You citizens have a duty to protect our country from the evil holds of communism that threaten the ideals of our nations. We were unsuccessful in keeping communism within the USSR, but this isn't over. We will continue to hold true to our promises of protecting the democratic integrity of nations across the globe. Our government and military continue to dedicate themselves to this fight.
This fight will be long and it will be hard, but it's our duty to protect freedom. If you have any information, it is your civic duty to come forward with it. That's all for this morning, everyone. Protect our country and protect our freedom.